there's this group of kids, I call them deeply failing kids, who really are kind of operating differently in the world. When they feel vulnerable, they simultaneously feel shame. And shame makes feelings explosive. And their tantrums and meltdowns and protests really are more intense. And parents need to know you're not making it up. I'm Dr. Becky Kennedy. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm a mom of 3. And I am the founder of the online parenting platform called Good Inside.
Deeply feeling kids.
One of the things that was happening in my private practice is I was seeing so many parents for parenting work. And there were a subset of parents who were telling me, my kid has these huge tantrums, Dr. Becky, it's not what you've ever seen before. Animalistic, hissing, growling, scratching me. I've seen other kids, they don't have tantrums like this, and my kid takes longer to calm down, and they blame me for things I never did. Why did you trip me? And I'm thinking, you just tripped on the sidewalk. Like, sorry if you're embarrassed, but I wasn't even touching you. All these things. And then they'd say to me this, and I'm doing the things you told me to do, but your strategies are making things worse. Okay. I'm ashamed to say this, but I feel like leading with the truth is important. My first thought in these sessions was often, I just don't think you're doing it right. Like, I don't know if you're doing it the way I would do it, but like, okay, I love a problem and I love to be creative. And so how about we try this? Or how about we try this? And then we started to make a lot of progress. And I didn't quite understand exactly why, but started to catch on with this kind of subset of like very, very intense emotional kids who would kind of push parents away in the moment they kind of needed parents the most, this kind of unproductive dance. Then I had my second kid. I was like, oh, okay, I understand all of these parents because I know I'm saying things and doing things the exact same way I was with my first. But when I validate my kids' feelings, oh, you're so sad, this is what I get in response, stop talking to me. And a part of me is like, wait, this is supposed to help. This helped other kid. And then I would see these animalistic meltdowns. It's kind of the only way. Like the 0 to 60, it was so intense and the calming down would take so much longer. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, I have to call all these parents and say, okay, I am so with you. And so I had this kid in my house and then I was seeing so many of these families because I think once I started to develop this other approach and we had all this success, like all these referrals came in. And I really saw that there's this group of kids, I call them deeply failing kids, who really are kind of operating differently in the world. And I think the core thing I realized about them is these are kids who are more porous to the world. And if you think about what that means, if you think about the pores on your skin and each one being bigger, that would profoundly impact your experience in the world. More would actually come in from your environment, which means you would get overwhelmed more easily or more quickly. Right? And also in the moments when it all came out, because you were more porous, more would come out. It would be almost violent and intense. And their tantrums and meltdowns and protests really are more intense. And parents need to know you're not making it up. The other thing I realized about these kids is unlike non-DFKs, when non-deeply feeling kids are vulnerable, they trip and fall, they feel sad, because you're leaving and someone else has to put them to bed. They really take in comfort. They don't get calm right away, but they want to be comforted. Deeply feeling kids, and this is so important, when they feel vulnerable, they simultaneously feel shame. And shame makes feelings explosive, which is why when deeply feeling kids trip or mispronounce a word, or even when they internally just feel like, I'm gonna miss my dad when he's on a business trip. Because they feel things so intensely and they're so acutely aware of their intense emotions, they start to think, I'm a really intensely feeling person and I get overwhelmed so easily and I so need the adults around me, but the things that overwhelm me, I'm worried are gonna overwhelm them. And so I can't really ask them for help because then I'm gonna kind of lose the very person that I need. And you can imagine this is such a conflictual existence. And if people are thinking, you think that's what's happening for my 3-year-old? 100%. And so when they miss you, when they're embarrassed, they explode with anger and kind of push people away. These are the kids when they're having these massive tantrums and they are so out of control. They'll get out of my room. But you're kind of thinking like, really? Like, you're not really in a good place to make that decision. And then sometimes we take the bait and we leave and we say, fine, I'm just trying to help. And as soon as we close the door, essentially what a DFK thinks is, see, I knew it. I really am as bad and overwhelming to others and toxic and too much as I worried I was. And they're off to the races in a bad way. I have come to be obsessed with these kids. I think they are the most misunderstood kids. And unfortunately, I have to say, even in the clinical world, too often these kids are labeled as oppositional, defiant, and parents are told, every parent who ever has done our whole Deeply Feeling Kid program tells me, yeah, I've always told, you're not being harsh enough. You're not being consistent enough with timeouts. All that does, especially for DFKs, is confirm their biggest fear. I am too much, too bad for others, and only makes them even more vulnerable to all the bad behavior we're looking to shift away from. Now, this doesn't mean those kids need a party when they're exploding. No. But I've developed this way of understanding those kids and something I call a side door strategy. See, when typical kids, not typical, but when non-deeply feeling kids are upset, you kind of picture them in their house and you can kind of go up to their front door and you're like, hey, I'm here to support you. And they kind of respond like, sure, come on in. Hey, it was so hard when your brother said you couldn't play with him and his friend, right? And a little bit, a non-deeply feeling kid will go, right? And you kind of know you have that moment. You say that to a deeply feeling kid, and they do. They slam the door in your face. Get out of my room. Stop talking about feelings. But we misconstrue that as them not wanting our support. It's just too direct. It's like almost too close. And so I've developed this way of understanding we have to go around to the side. And what are you going around? You have to go around their shame, which is actually their fear that all their big feelings will lead to disconnection. So just as one example of that, it might sound like this. Look, I'm gonna say something, and I don't know if it's true. It probably won't be. But if I say something and you agree with it, give me a thumbs up. If you kind of agree but kind of think it's wrong, give me a thumb to the side. And if I say something that's totally wrong, give me a thumbs down. Now, pro tip, when you do this for a DFK, and you know you have a DFK when this hits, first say something that they're gonna reject. Why? Deeply feeling kids, based on their fears, they need to titrate closeness. They kind of need to push you away a little before they take you in. So you might say first, I think you were upset earlier because I promised you I would take you to the moon and the space shuttle just wasn't ready. Maybe I'd say that to a kid who loves space, and my kid's gonna go like this from their bed. Oh, no. And inside you'll think, oh, I'm so winning, because then you can say something like this. This is an exact example that a family shared with me. They did this, and the second thing they said was, I think it's really hard when you're playing with your brother and his friend and you're included, and then all of a sudden they want some alone time. And this family told me the kid gave a thumb to the side, with for a DFK is like as good as it gets in the beginning. And the parent told me I was just so happy. It was like the first connection we'd had in a while. And I just kind of didn't say anything. I was like frozen in shock. And the kid goes, ask me another question. Deeply feeling kids get so overwhelmed and struggle to understand themselves. And truly one of the worst things for a kid is to be ununderstandable. And too often for DFKs, because we think we have to lead with harshness or be more consistent with punishments, they actually get worse and worse because they feel so ununderstandable. It's the worst feeling for a kid. Nobody understands me. It's almost like, am I even real? Who am I? All kids need to feel understood. I think it's harder with deeply feeling kids because traditional methods of trying to understand your kid, they do reject. And then we can take that very personally. We feel like, hey, I'm trying my hardest and you're stopping me from feeling like a good parent. But what's important to know is after kids act out, after that hitting and that animalistic tantrum, or after your kid says something awful to you and they're alone in their room, it's just so important to imagine that that kid is actually so overwhelmed and frightened because they're alone. Now, that doesn't mean we should run to our kid right away. We might need to regulate ourselves first. And connection can mean a lot of things. But finding a way to be close to your kid again, to even remember in your head, wait, I don't have a bad kid. I have a good kid who is having a hard time. Finding your kid later and saying, look, I know we all have moments when we do things we're not proud of. I love you. Nothing you could ever do would change that I love you. That is so, so important. And so that moment, and there's so many other ways you can kind of go around the shame, the dynamic with these kids completely change. And they become much more able to manage their emotions. And actually, they get to tap into all the amazing parts about being a DFK. They are these intensely feeling people, which when you get around the bad behavior and the shame, you see their intense joy, and they're so funny, and they're leaders, and they're so self-assured. And so deeply feeling kids are kind of my passion project within the passion project that is good inside. And I'm just excited for more people to think about their kids or maybe even themselves in that framework.
Want to support the channel? Join the Big Think members community where you get access to videos early, ad-free.